Hello, welcome to my channel. Today, we will be discussing why Roe v. Wade should not be overturned. It is important to note this video only examines the U.S. Constitution. People's personal morals, all that is not considered in this video. Why? Because that's what the Supreme Court justices are supposed to do. They are supposed to look and see if the Constitution supports what these cases are being brought up about. Now, specifically, the justices, it's been leaked, they are voting to overturn Roe v. Wade. They believe that the Constitution does not support Roe v. Wade, and I think that is, to put it bluntly, not true. I believe that these justices are allowing outside biases to come in and skew their opinions, and that is inherently not what a Supreme Court justice is supposed to be doing, and I believe they're not doing their job correctly, to put it very bluntly. So, what is Roe v. Wade? Roe v. Wade was a case that was brought to the United States Supreme Court in 1970. The plaintiff, Jane Roe, this is a fake name, to protect their identity, filed a lawsuit against Henry Wade, the district attorney of Dallas County. This was because in Texas, there was a law that made abortion illegal, except when a doctor ordered it to save a woman's life. Now, let me repeat that for you so you understand. This law only allowed abortion if a doctor specifically ordered it to save a woman's life. Meaning never, not even when she was physically in a medically compromising position, was she allowed to have an abortion. She never was allowed that choice, ever. Only doctors were allowed to make that choice. Roe sent this abridged her right to privacy, which is protected by the 1st, 4th, 5th, 9th, and 14th Amendments. Now, we will be going through each of these amendments and be discussing why that's true. That is true. Roe was correct, and the original Supreme Court justices found that Roe was correct. So, that really goes in the idea of why aren't these new ones seeing the same thing? So, the First Amendment, freedoms of speech, religion, and the press. Most people know this one. It's very iconic here in the United States. Obviously, we're going to be talking about freedom of religion. It was delved into heavily in this case. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, the reason why this was so looked into during the case is because there are religions that do in fact support abortion. Now, specifically, during the case, they discussed Judaism. Now, this is because many in the Jewish faith do not believe life begins until after birth, meaning abortion is not killing a living being. Now, this was something that was specifically noted by the judges in their decision, and I'm going to be going kind of through the Jewish religion. It's like a real fast through. It's not a very thorough deep dive. If you want to look more into the Jewish religion, I highly encourage it. It is extremely interesting. I've had long discussions with my Jewish friends about it, and I think it's worth to look at other people's perspectives and understand what they're coming from, especially on a topic like this. So, miscarriage in the Hebrew scripture. Okay, this is one that's very important to note. Should men quarrel and hit a pregnant woman, and she miscarried, but there is no fatality, he shall surely be punished when the woman's husband makes demands of him, and he shall give according to the judges. Now, what is this saying? This is one saying that if a woman miscarries, but she lives, there was no fatality. And that the only right the husband will have when it comes to the miscarriage is to fine those who cause the miscarriage. This kind of puts more of a fetus not as a human, but as property, something to be owned. So, this is something especially important to note because earlier in the scripture, it is stated that killing a human is considered a capital offense, but it is not considered one when it comes to a fetus. Now, there are other scriptures that I would also like to discuss because there are many that kind of, go on top of each other and kind of support the idea that abortion is supported in the scripture. One of these is the danger to the life of the mother. If, however, the majority of the fetus emerge, we may not touch it, for we do not push aside a life in place of another life. Now, this is saying even if most of the fetus is out, if it's going to hurt the mother, they will let it die. That means even if it came out and at that point, if it's taken a breath, they consider it a human. But They do not think it is okay to let the mother die. This is another important thing to note, because some people interpret their religion to always try to save the fetus, because the fetus they consider an innocent life and it should be protected. Now, this is because the fetus is considered a rodef, or one pursuing with the intent to kill. Now, Jewish law requires bystanders to warn the rodef to stop pursuing the person with the, stop pursuing someone with the intent to kill. And if that person refuses, the bystander is required to kill the rodef. Obviously, you cannot tell a fetus to stop emerging from the mother. It cannot comprehend that. It doesn't have that kind of, its brain is not developed in that way. So in this case, it would be that it is okay to let the fetus die if it protects the mother, because it is putting in danger on her life. Now, some rabbis have taken this to mean that if a fetus will cause any harm to the mother, abortion is allowed. This can be mental, physical, or emotional distress. Another excerpt is, God formed the man from the dust of the earth and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living nephesh. Now, a nephesh it's a soul. It can also be translated as life. People interpret this as life does not begin until first breath. God will breathe in the soul into you. When you breathe in the soul, and you become a human life. Now, do all Jewish people believe in abortion? No, of course not. Why is that? That's because religion is based on interpretation. This is in all religions. When they were first creating these religions, there was no idea of how the world would be today. I mean, there's things that we have now that are unimaginable to those who were alive when their scriptures were first written. So we have to kind of interpret the book and see if it's supported by the religion. But it is safe to say a large majority of Jewish people do believe in abortion. Now, if you look at this data provided by the Pew Research, 83% of Jewish people believe it is legal in all or most cases. That is an astoundingly high percentage. I think it is safe to say you will not see such an astoundingly high percentage in any of the other monotheistic, in particular, religions. Right now we are only talking about monotheism, but there are other religions that do support abortion, specifically those non-traditional monotheistic religions. Those weren't considered in the past, mainly because now we're becoming more open and allowing people to kind of find their own spirituality, finding their own religion. Back in the day, it was more common to look down on people who had, a polytheistic religion and other things. And that is inherently due to, let's be honest, it's due to internalized racism, because we were told that people who believed in these religions were savages. And now we're kind of finally getting out of that mindset and recognizing that that was a racist thing to believe and was not okay. Now, for example, the Satanic Temple. They are currently in a lawsuit with Texas. They're suing Texas for abortion restrictions because they have an abortion ritual as part of their religion, and they cannot practice this if abortion is restricted. You can learn more about their lawsuit. I have the link here. Go ahead, pause, go to it. Maybe I'll remember to put it in the description. I probably won't, I'm going to be honest. So if you want to learn more about that, it is very interesting. It's very interesting to understand. And another important thing to keep in mind about the freedom of religion is we have to go back to that we cannot support the establishment of a religion. The United States Constitution is against one religion being the religion of the country. And this is because many people came over here for religious freedom. You have to remember that the Quakers were prosecuted for their religion when they came over here. This country is based on allowing people to believe in what they believe in, that they can believe in whatever they want. So if you're only supporting religions that are against abortion, that is that goes against everything this country, like, started on. Like, what these colonies, because initially we were colonies, what these colonies believed in. And that goes against everything. Inherently, it goes against everything. Now, some may say, well, you know, abortion is against my religion, so I don't think it should be legal. Well, the problem is no one is forcing you to have an abortion. You don't have to. You can follow your religion and not have one. But if you are stopping other people from following their religion by restricting their ability to get one, you are in the wrong. Now, would the overturn of Roe v. Wade restrict the freedom of religion? Yes, it would. As we've discussed very fully, it would. There are many religions who support abortion. They don't believe that the fetus is life. Now, this is when we get into the idea of morals. We have, you know, those iconic, I guess that's a way to say it, notorious posters saying abortion is murder. Now, this goes into morals. They're subjective. Not everybody has the same morals. Not people have the same values. And these can be impacted by people's religion. But that does not mean that you're right. Just because your religion says something is good or bad does not mean it is right or wrong. Now, believing this would mean you believe your religion is superior, which is inherently not an okay thing to believe in. It is not an okay thing to believe in. So, let's move on. The Fourth Amendment, protection against unreasonable search and seizure. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, how does this apply to abortion? Now, many anti-abortion laws that are put in place, the reactive ones we were discussing earlier, the ones that will go into effect as soon as Roe v. Wade gets overturned, many conservative states will have these laws that immediately go into effect and make abortion illegal. They require transvaginal ultrasounds. These ultrasounds are used to make sure that the fetus is still in there. As you can see from the image, it is extremely invasive. Now, that would be the search. Now, what's the seizure? Well, first, pregnancy can be seen as not only intrusive, but you are unable to leave the state of pregnancy. If you cannot get an abortion, you are stuck pregnant. And that can be seen as a seizure. You are being held against your will. So that's where the kind of argument goes into. And I can truly see the side, especially with, if you look at these laws, you will understand. I promise you, if you look deeper into these reactionary laws, you will understand how horrible they will be. Not only for those who want an abortion, but those who miscarry. And it's already been a precedent in this country that women have gone to jail for miscarriages. That means if a woman has a baby that she wants and she has a miscarriage, they will investigate to make sure she did not cause herself to have an abortion. She will be forced to go through this trauma after losing a child that she wanted. That is not okay. I think that inherently everyone can believe that that's morally wrong to do. So, then we move on to the Fifth Amendment. Grand jury self-incrimination and due process protections. So, when we're discussing abortion, we're talking about due process. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. Now, the reason we're talking about due process is because the Constitution is considered the supreme law of the land, which is the whole reason why the Supreme Court exists. That's because, laws can easily get put into effect. The Supreme Court is put into place to check and make sure the laws that are put in place are not unconstitutional. The Fifth Amendment is essentially stating that the federal government must protect these rights. They must protect what is given to us in the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. They must protect them. Which means that the Supreme Court is obligated to rule in favor of anything that protects these rights. And since we have, honestly, I believe without a shadow of a doubt, proven that overturning Roe v. Wade goes against freedom of religion, then inherently they're breaking the Fifth. They're inherently going for something that's unconstitutional. Because the Fifth is supposed to protect us. They're supposed to protect us from this. And that's obviously not what's going on. Now, again, due process will again be mentioned in the 14th, and when we get there, I will explain more on that. The 9th Amendment, I love this amendment. I'm going to be honest, when I was doing research for this video, I did not remember the Unenumerated Rights Amendment. And it's actually a phenomenal amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So this amendment is protecting any rights that weren't mentioned. That's what enumeration means. Enumeration is mentioning. So it would be impossible to write down every right that a human being has. There's not enough time in the world to write down every right that we have. So, in order to protect these rights in case one is forgotten or something like that, they made the Unenumerated Rights Amendment. So, one right that was not mentioned that we all collectively agree in the United States is the right to privacy. Now, it was decided in the original ruling of Roe v. Wade that abortion laws would restrict the right to privacy. And if you go back and you think about the transvaginal ultrasounds, right there, that shows you. Not to mention you have a right to have privacy when you're talking with your doctor, when you're going through a medical process. Now, laws like in Texas right now, where they're incentivizing snitching on people that you believe have had abortions, that's going against your privacy. That goes against allowing you to have your privacy at all. You have people looking at you now to make sure that you're doing what the government wants you to do with your body. That's not okay. So, now we talk about the 14th Amendment. Now, this is the last amendment that was mentioned in the ruling of Roe v. Wade. Privileges and immunities of citizenship, due process, and equal protection. Now, you may be wondering, why due process again? This amendment was created to reinforce the due process law from the Fifth. All persons born unnaturalized or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of laws. It is important to note how a person is defined in this amendment. All persons born or naturalized, meaning people in the Constitution are only defined as someone who is no longer in the womb. This does not protect fetuses. So, those who say that it's not okay to get an abortion because you're not allowing them life, and life is life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and that's written in the documents of our country. Fetuses do not get that protection. They do not. Inherently, the Constitution says they do not. So, this had to be made so that states could not make or enforce laws that restricted the protections in the Bill of Rights. They had already taken care of the federal government. The issue was states were continuing to make laws that restricted the protections in the Bill of Rights. And honestly, it's still a problem, as we can see right now with Texas, where they're purposely disrupting the right to privacy of people have, their freedom of religion. And that's what I'm saying. Now, there can be arguments made for search and seizure. That's the only one I can see arguments made for, but the rest of these? No. They're inherently rights that are given to us in the Constitution. And what they are doing by overturning Roe v. Wade is inherently unconstitutional. And I implore, if any of the justices see this video, if somehow this video reaches them, which I kind of doubt it will, but if it does, I am telling you, I implore you to put your biases aside, as you are required to as a Supreme Court justice, and look at what the Constitution says itself. That is your job. And you're not doing it correctly. Any of the Supreme Court justices that argued against abortion are going against, at the very least, the First Amendment. At the most, we have the first, 5th, 14th, 9th, like, that's a lot of amendments that you're going against. Think about what you are doing, and think about it as you were supposed to think about it, based on what we are given, the documents we are provided. And please, please, share this with your friends and family who are against abortion. This is about as subjective as I can get when it comes to abortion. This is the most unopinionated, unbiased I can get. Not a single argument was brought up about, human life. I'm not even arguing what a human life is. I'm just saying that certain religions have certain beliefs. Please, understand, whether you like it or not, it is supported in our Constitution, and that is what is important at the end of the day. Thank you so much for watching.